Greetings and salutations. It is the start of another week. I'm Russ Kane. This is the Daily Show, of course, on Men's Radio Station. I hope you had a halfway decent weekend. Mine was, it was all right. It was all right. It was okay. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. I always hated radio when they go, "Hi, everybody. I had a fantastic weekend." And I used to sit in my car when I was a kid going, "Oh, shut up. What, your life's so fabulous and our life is just okay." So I'm always very, very honest about it. Anyway, that's it. And I'm here to tell the tale. What more? My second espresso. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him. You've grown to love him, but in an avuncular way. He is the king of New Malden, Neil Long.
At your service, Neil Long, live from New Malden. Good afternoon and welcome to Men's Radio.
What do you want from a global radio television station than live from New Malden? Surely this must put the 100 years of celebrating the BBC to shame.
To shame.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
By the way, well done. Big congratulations to my old mate Ian Clarkson and all the boys in the Jive Aces, because when they did the opening number of Strictly on Saturday night, that was Ian and the boys. They used the theme, his version of Bring Me Sunshine, which was incredible.
You know the Jive Aces. That's fantastic.
I've known them since the 90s.
I played the Jive Aces. That's in my end of the night selection when I DJ. Bring Me Sunshine.
Oh, you
kidding?
No, anyway,
absolutely.
so Ian and the boys.
That's up there with Hi Ho Silver Lining, mate.
I didn't know. We'll talk about it another time. I was here early following your message, but alas and alack. Right, let's get on with before we get on.
Good day, Asa Don Brown.
From New York State, live. It's Monday morning, right? And then coming in from Manhattan, Elizabeth Green. I love it that our American gang come on straight away. Right, should we crack on with our first guest? Because we my throat's gone.
Shall I fill for a bit?
Oh, that was nice. That was pleasant. Only consumption. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Komalafe.
Good morning, guys. Well, good afternoon, I should say. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Do you know what? When you say good afternoon, right, I feel like, that's my day gone. I might as well go back to bed now, to be honest with you. So we've had hello to the gang from Northeastern States, United States, from Manhattan in New York, and now from Houston, Julie Voice. Hello, London. This is Houston. Hello, London. This is Houston. We don't appear to have a problem, but it's only 6 a.m. and still dark. Bloody Nora. Okay, and Emma Webb, who's always so supportive. Hello to you, Em. Hope you're well. Right. Okay, gang, and John Yates. Hello. Right, Peter, welcome to the what we laughingly call a show.
Thank you.
Not at all. And tell us all about yourself.
Where do you want me to start?
Let's start at the very beginning. That's a very good place to start.
Okay,
musical theatre.
All right, so let me give you a little bit of a background around my kind of history. I am 43 years old. I was fostered for 3 months.
Neil and I, Hank? Whoa, Mister. Can Neil and I have a pint? Whatever you're on, we want it intravenously. I don't like this guy. I straight away don't like this guy. He's 42. He looked like 27.
He's only been on a minute.
I don't like
him.
Man. I don't like him. I don't like him straight away.
I'll tell you what, though. I could send you something in the post. It's called cocoa butter. That has been the secret for me from a
I know cocoa butter. That's not a secret. I know cocoa butter, matey. Yeah. Palmer's cocoa butter. I'm up there with you.
Yeah, so it's all about cocoa butter. But yeah, I'm 43 in November, and when I was younger, my parents are Nigerian, so they came over in the 70s to work here. They had me in 79. And like many Nigerians who came over back in the day, they were working, they were studying, they had me. And then it was very common back then to put an ad in the paper and ask for a family to look after your child. So I was fostered from 3 months to 8 years old.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
No health and safety back then or child safeguarding back then. But yeah,
so like
very much so.
BMX bike for sale, no good offer, comes with child.
Pretty much, yeah. It was very, very common back then. And so I was fostered from 3 months all the way to 8 years old.
Is this a Nigerian thing? I've never heard. Neil, you ever heard this?
No.
Never heard this. You've staggered us, man. Staggered us.
Well, back in the 70s, what happened was there were a lot of Nigerian families that came over to the UK, and my parents were exactly the same. Where they came over, they already had 3 boys, and the goal was to come over, work, study, get some qualifications, then basically go back home. So they had me in 79, and to this day, I still think that I was a little bit of a surprise because I'm named Peter, but our second born in the family was also named Peter. So somehow they forgot they already had a Peter in the family.
Oh,
But it was common back then. It was common back then that a lot of Nigerian parents did this. And where I grew up, there were at least maybe
I'm sorry,
4 or
this
5
is
kids in the same.
terrible. They forget that they've had you. They shove you out the door like with an advert in Exchange and Mart, and then they said, "I know. Let's have an original name for our. Let's call it Peter. Do we have anyone else
but this
called
is
Peter?
this is
No.
common practice. Do you mean naming children the same name, or kind of advertising for people to look after them, or both?
Advertising for people to look after the children. That was quite common
I'm
back in the 70s
staggered.
when a lot of
I'm
them came over.
absolutely staggered, Peter. Absolutely
Yeah.
staggered.
Yeah,
Anyway, you were
this
saying.
has
Sorry.
blown us away. Honestly,
Yeah.
blown us away.
So I was fostered from 3 months all the way to 8 years old. During that time, I would see my parents every year during the summer for maybe 2 weeks or so. But I was raised by like my foster family down in Hastings. I was really, really lucky with them. There were other kids that weren't as lucky, kids who were being fed dog food and cat food. But I had a really, really loving foster family. Parents who looked after me. And then when I turned 8, they had this bright idea that, I'd never met my 3 older brothers in Nigeria. So they would ship me over for 2 weeks as a holiday. And that holiday ended up being a 10-year stint. I stayed out there for 10 years. I returned when I was 18 years old. They gave me 50 quid and said, there you go, get on a plane, go back to your foster parents' house, who I'd not spoken to for the entire 10 years I was out there, and crack on. And I came back in. I came back in 1998.
I don't even know, and I, as Neil and the audience will attest, I am rarely lost for words. I don't even know how to start to unpack this.
Because, so wait a minute.
This is
So
awful.
they expect you just be able to walk straight back into that foster parent relationship. So you just popped over for a 2-week holiday. Yeah, sorry about the other 9 years, 50 weeks, but hey, what's close to 10 years between friends? I mean, seriously? That's incredible.
I mean, if I'm honest, so all the time that I was out there in Nigeria, I was hoping to come back because obviously I was born here. I grew up here for the first 8 years of my life. So
yeah,
I was accustomed to UK culture. Moving over there was very much a culture shock in every sense of the word. And when my dad said to me, "You're going to be going back to the UK," I was so excited. I'd finished secondary school at 16, and it was a question of, do I go into university? But the reality was there wasn't really that many prospects for me to explore over in Nigeria. So when he came home and said, "You're going to be going back," I was excited. I didn't necessarily think of the practicalities of, well, what if my foster parents don't necessarily live at the same address anymore? I've only got 50 quid. How am I going to make ends meet? None of that really dawned on me until I actually landed it.
So excited about going back to the culture.
Exactly.
I mean, because if you were in the UK culture for the first 7 years of life, that's when the foundations for so much is set. By osmosis, you haven't even got the critical factor. It's just, people 0 to 7, we just absorb. And then I suppose going to a completely what would have seemed foreign culture, that would be really confusing.
So just to dig a little deeper here, because I'm reeling from this, as I think so is Neil and everybody else around the world. Your siblings, did they have I'm going to use the word normal, but bear with me, a normal child upbringing, or were they packed off in Exchange and Mart like you?
Well, no, because I'm the last of 4 boys. So I was the last born in the family, and my 3 older brothers were in Nigeria. So my parents left to come here, but they were left with family, essentially. So their upbringing was pretty standard in terms of the family unit. They have great relationships because they've known each other since birth. I haven't necessarily had that. I've known my real family for 10 years of my life, between 8 and 18. I'm now 43. I'm going to be 43 in November. So I don't necessarily have the benefit of understanding that family structure in the way that they have.
It's diabolical. I'm going to ask you a very difficult question.
Go on.
Do you have any? The capital of Peru was founded at. No, the difficult question. The difficult question is that I'm reeling. That's why I made a joke. Do you have any relationship with your parents? Because if it was me, I'd just go and smack him in the head with a baseball bat. But that's just me.
The relationship isn't the best. I think I look back over my story now, and I think I don't understand what the traditional family unit is. And the reality is that I've known my family, my mum, my dad, my brothers, really for 10 years. And even in that 10 years, it was a little bit fractious because we all didn't live under the same roof for that entire 10-year period. So I don't necessarily have a really strong relationship with them. I think when I look back now and speaking to them here and there, I think they had the best intentions at heart, as most people do, as most parents do. I just don't think that they fully appreciated and fully appreciate the impact of everything as and how it happened, how it's impacted me from a personal point of view, or my view on the family unit and life generally. But with that being said, though, I wouldn't necessarily change anything that has happened to me. I mean, when I came back in 98, my foster parents luckily still lived there. But the reality is that, my foster parents aren't wealthy. They're, on low income. They're a low income household, really.
I mean, Neil's point is really valid, although he did it in the way that we do things here in a sort of light-hearted manner. What did you do? Just ring on? Hi, I'm back. What happened?
Yeah,
you walk up in Hastings. You've meant to be gone 2 weeks. You turn up 10 years later, and they go, "Oh, hi, come in. I've got the kettle on." Or what?
Well, so I found out from my foster dad last year that they found out that I'd gone to Nigeria a month or so afterwards, and they heard through a friend of a friend that I was in Nigeria. So they were completely unaware of what was going on. Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were ringing the alarms. Where is he? And then they got the word that I was in Nigeria. So effectively what happened is, look, I got back to Heathrow. I landed on Heathrow, and I literally got through customs. I got on a train and rocked up on their doorstep.
How did they allow you in?
Why
did they allow you in?
Well, I've got a British passport. I was born here with a British passport, so they couldn't technically say no.
You can do what the hell you want. Of course, you've got a British passport. Stupid question. Sorry.
I was 18, but back then, I mean, I'm 6'2" now, but back then I was 5'3". I looked like I was 12 years old. I was quite lucky that they let me through customs, but I got on a train and rocked up on their doorstep. So I arrived in Hastings. It was mid-morning. It was around about 11 o'clock roughly. For me, it didn't click that they would be at work. So I knocked on the door. Nobody's there. I start panicking, thinking, okay, they might have moved because that is
it could be dead. I mean, they could be dead. How do you know?
Exactly. So I ended up waiting around, and luckily one of the neighbors recognized me and said, they still live there. They're just at work. And obviously I waited in their house. But when they got back, it was a shock to them because they hadn't seen me for 10 years. And it was almost like, okay.
Mildly,
it was a shock for them. What the hell?
Yeah.
Peter, you're right. Here's a question.
I take it this culture has changed now in Nigeria, or is it still the same?
No, of course not. Peter, this is coming in from Asa Don Brown, who's very senior in the psychotherapeutic community in America. How is the lack? We read this out because another radio station takes our feed. Hello to everyone at Deluxe Radio, all 70,000 of you, or 60,000, or how many are listening today? How has the lack of family structure and the family unit affected your life? Asks Asa Don Brown.
Quite profoundly, I think. I'm going to be 43 in November. I don't have kids just yet, and I still have this. I still have this thing in the back of my mind that I don't know. I don't understand what family is from a traditional point of view, and I don't know whether I'm equipped to be a dad, if that makes any sense. I've always had to look after myself since I was 18. I came back here. I've had to, really fend for myself. I've been homeless. I slept on the streets. And so I've had an element where I've always had to do things on my own. And particularly when I think about when I was homeless, I don't have anyone to call. I can't call my mom and my dad to help me out. I can't necessarily lean on and be a burden to other people. So it has always been a case of figure it out yourself. And so that that sense of independence that I've built all the way through 18 up until now, and all the difficulties that I've encountered, as basically it's part of my DNA now. So
I mean,
the
it's
question
going to
of
make you a
family,
very, I know this word gets thrown around an awful lot, but it'll make you a very resilient person, I would have thought, because you've had more life experience in that time than most people would have in a lifetime. I would have thought.
Neil, why? I'm jumping in.
I was going to ask how you did it.
No, I'm going to ask this. Why are you not bitter and twisted and angry? It's a miracle. What, are you like a saint or so? I can't get over this story. It is awful. Absolutely awful, Peter.
I wouldn't say I'm a saint, not at all. I mean, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I like to think that so one of the things that I learned when I was in Nigeria, and this is, in Nigeria, we had no electric, no running water for days and weeks on end. And so the opportunity to come back to the UK for me was always, I can get myself into a better position. Anything is better than having no running electric, no running water, not knowing where your next meals are going to come from. I had the opportunity to build something for myself. And that has always kind of been the driving force behind my philosophy and the way I think and the way I do things, and pretty much what I do on a day-to-day basis. I want to make the best opportunity of the opportunity that I am afforded because I was born here by just luck, and I have a British passport.
So what do you do?
That's a powerful idea. I mean,
it is a powerful idea. I don't know how you do this. I'd be probably a psychopath by now.
How did you do it? Can you give us a potted history? So you landed back when you were in your late teens, and then how did you go? Sort of, you can give us a potted history from when you were 18 to now, because I've done a bit of research on you. I'll see what you do now. But how did you get there with this resilient philosophy? And it is a resilient philosophy, a powerful philosophy. So just some tips, I suppose, because there's going to be people listening who this story is going to touch one way or another. So how do you do it? What was your pathway? Lots of self-belief, I would have thought.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think when you're left in a situation where you've got to count on yourself, you automatically figure out how to put your best foot forward 100% every single time. And that doesn't mean that you don't fail, because I failed a lot, but it means that you are able to identify when the opportunities arise and how to you learn more about yourself. And that's one thing that I know myself pretty well. I know my good sides, I know my bad sides. But in the road to what I do right now is, if I'm completely honest, just happenstance. I mean, I've been homeless. I've been in debt for 15 years. And being in debt was a byproduct of being homeless. One thing I found out was when I was in the streets and living in hostels and I didn't have any money, what I didn't have at the time was access to funds, to free money. But back then you had a checkbook. And I realized when I was starving and hungry that actually I could write a check, go into Tesco's, go get food. They'll give me the food, and then they'll try and cash that check, whether there's money in there or not. And that's what I did. I bounced checks to basically survive. And so being in debt kind of impacted me when it comes to my finances, and then the associated anxiety that comes with that. People always I was always afraid that there were debt collectors chasing me and all this kind of stuff. And then being in a position where I get off the streets, I get into housing, I'm still on benefits, and the job centre saying, well, you need to actively be looking for a job. If you don't, we're going to take you off benefits, and being told, well, there's an interview for a building society. And I'm like, it's pretty much a bank. I owe a shed load of money. I don't want to be rocking up to these banks saying I need a job when they're going to be like, actually, you probably owe us money. I didn't want to do it. But the reality was back then that if I didn't go, they were going to take me off benefits. So I was hand tied. So I went to this interview and I tried to sabotage it as much as possible. I went in jeans, a leather jacket, a pair of trainers, and I basically just tried my best to mess everything up. But luckily, the lady who interviewed me, a lady called Jenny Berry, she saw something in me and goes, well, you're going to be amazing. My customers are going to absolutely love you. And she gave me my first job in a building society. And really, with everything that has happened so far through my career, she's the catalyst for all of that happening. She was my sponsor. She was my biggest advocate. Even when
there's always one, an angel we meet on the way. Angel in human form, I call it.
Well, it's sweet of you to say
100%.
that, but there's always someone who is an enormous influence, and I have certain markers along what laughingly is called my life, like you. But anyway, this is about you. This is coming back in from America. I've got to read this out. You're going to slightly disappear, Peter. Would you like to read this out, Neil, and do the honours?
I will, and I must admit, Asa Don Brown, I had a similar thought, though I didn't voice it. I honestly did. Peter, as a clinical psychologist, I've found that some of the best parents are those who have lacked parental connection. It sounds like you've done a lot of work on your own person. And I would agree with that, because I think the more we know ourselves and the more we love ourselves, hopefully, that's what would make a good parent, I would have thought.
Do you know, it's interesting
I
you
really,
say
really
this.
would. I would put my money down that as and when you become a dad, you'll be a great dad.
Do you know, it's fascinating you say this, and I'm sort of throw myself in the mix in the middle of such a story which is ripping me apart here, to be honest with you. But I was sent off to boarding school at 9 and came back at 18. Had very little. Well, anyway, I don't think I'm a terrible dad. We'll leave it at that. We'll gloss over that. It's not about me. It's all about you. So Peter, you do explain to everybody, what do you do now?
So basically, right now, I have a YouTube channel, and I also have a podcast called the Conversation on Money Podcast. And really, the purpose of the two outlets is to share all of the things that I've learned through my career in financial services over 15 years. I started off in retail banking, working with customers face to face. I went into corporate banking, where I'm working with businesses, business owners to fund equipment. And then I moved in 2012 into wealth management in Canary Wharf here in the UK.
Into what?
And
Into what? So slow that down a bit. You went into what management?
into wealth management, which is
A wealth
essentially
management. Sorry. Oh,
investments.
so you're opposite from. I'm probably looking at you now. If you're in Canary Wharf, that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's in pensions and investments. And through that 15-year career, I learned a lot. And a lot of the stuff that I learned was things that were alien and completely brand new to me. And whilst I was learning all this stuff, I couldn't help but think, well, why didn't I know about this when I was in my 20s? And how much of an impact those little tidbits of knowledge would have helped me make better financial decisions. Number one, probably getting out of debt a lot sooner than I did, in opposed to burying my head in the sand. And so the YouTube channel and the podcast is essentially my vehicle to be able to get what I have in my head and all the experiences that I've had in the industry during my career out, so that normal people can actually benefit from that. And I tell my backstory because it is very much a personal story that got me to this point with a lot of obviously financial mistakes on my own. I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I have no debts right now. I've got a mortgage. That's it. I'm very, very financially stable. And if I had to go back to the 19-year-old me who was homeless to say that I would be in this position today, I don't know that I'd even believe that I would be here. Even if I did go back in a DeLorean, I was talking to myself. And so I think there's knowledge in power. And my mission and my purpose is really to empower other people in their 20s, coming up through the younger years of their lives, to help them make better financial decisions. And that's
but we're just
about.
not taught that. We did none of that at school.
No,
literally nothing. I mean,
we were taught really important stuff like sines, cosines, and logarithms, because I'm sure you use that all the time, along with the periodic table.
But simple things of
Boy, I
making
use
a
that
budget,
every day.
running a household budget, paying bills, finding a good deal, and I'm sure all the other stuff that
freaking
investments.
joke,
we were taught none of it.
None of
Literally
it. None of it.
And as I look back now,
Nothing.
not only on that, but on other subjects too, I was like, there's so much we didn't learn at school, and I'm like, but good thing is, there's people like yourself and others putting the message out there.
Yeah,
now.
but why
really
should
needed.
it be? And I'm
Really
not picking on Peter, but why is it? And this drives me up the freaking pole. Why is it you got to have people like Peter doing it when the government, I don't mean this government, I mean governments of any persuasion, right? It's not a political statement. Why is it up to individuals like Peter? The governments for years have failed education.
Because governments want to, I would imagine governments want votes, and in that case, they would want you to there to be some sort of dependency relationship. Vote for us, and we'll look after you, rather than taking personal responsibility.
Jesus Christ,
I guess
bloody awful.
There is an element to that actually, but it's actually quite interesting. So in the UK specifically, if you think about when the current curriculum was created, it was back in the 70s, right? And if you think about how things have changed, so, back in the 60s and 70s, you could go into a job and you'd have a job for life with a final salary pension, which meant that you would never have to worry about,
Yeah.
funding yourself in
Gold
retirement.
watch.
Yeah. So as we progress through the years and the world has become more modern and more interconnected, all of those things have fallen away. There's no such thing as a final salary pension anymore. There is
No
more,
such thing for life
no-
anymore, Peter.
exactly. There's no such thing as a job for life anymore. So these things have all changed, and as technology as kind of enhanced and grown and improved, we're now faced with so much more than just the basics of money management. We have to be teaching our kids about the markets and getting on the property ladder. Money management is still an important thing in there. New technologies like crypto, and the reality is that the current curriculum that we have, certainly in the UK, and it may be the same in the States. I know that some of the issues are precisely the same or identical in some way. The curriculum hasn't changed through 30, 40 years, and it needs to.
Some quotes coming in now. This is from Dave Sleet, who is the Grand Fromage at ANA, which is another huge psychological service. We'll just call it that. Neil, would you be so sweet?
It is amazing how some of the most successful people have similar parental experiences. Daley Thompson, Chris Akabusi are two prime examples of people that grow from one person seeing the person, not the situation.
Yeah, and the important thing with that is that I wore Chris Akabusi's outfit in Panto. He did
big up
role.
yourself.
Yeah, very important. Very important. We're dealing with very, very key issues that are gut.
This is what you came on for, Peter.
You came on to know that I wore Chris Akabusi's.
I've actually met Chris. I've actually met Chris
Akabusi.
He's hilarious. He's amazing. He
seems lovely. He always seems exuberantly joyful, doesn't he?
What you get. That's exactly who he is. He's a charming guy. Dave Sleet again says, powers that be are intent on maintaining the status quo with Francis Rossi, not solving challenges. Yeah, well, just don't know what the hell they're doing. Why don't we just say that? Peter, I don't know what to say to you. All right, I do have something positive. What can we do to support you? I don't mean financially. I mean, what can we do to spread the word of what you're trying to do? Because your story is astounding.
I mean, look, I hear this all the time when I don't talk enough about my story. That's the feedback that I have got when I speak to people. And, I've been very, very lucky. So the YouTube channel and the podcast started in 2020. So 2 years and 10 months in. And this year has been just amazing. I've done TV this year. I'm doing TV at the moment. I'm doing a Channel 4 show here in the UK every Tuesday, every week. And I want to kind of, snowball that into something that's more tangible. We're looking around for a book deal at the moment to put some of the knowledge and my lessons and my thoughts into book format. And, for me, I'm really, really big on representation, because I think that there are plenty of people who will be able to resonate with elements of my story, but I know that there are going to be kids who will be able to resonate with my identical story because they're in the exact same position. They might be homeless, they might be struggling with grades, they might be looking outside their window and things are just absolutely horrible in abusive households, so on and so forth. And I'm not necessarily smarter than anybody. I mean, I came back to this country having done A levels in sciences. I couldn't get into university to study to be a doctor like my dad wanted me to. So I don't have a university degree. But regardless of that happening, I ended up in a job in Canary Wharf where I started as the telephone boy in an investment house. And in 5 years later, I became one of the execs in a Fortune 100 company. That was through sheer hard work and determination, being able to, I guess, withstand knockbacks and just not take no for an answer. I'm not smarter than any of the young kids that are out there at the moment trying to find their way in the world. And so for me, representation is really, really important for kids who are, from my similar background, who might be looking for some kind of inspiration. And I think that's really where I want to do more. And it is about basically growing my platforms and doing more TV and the podcast.
Have you thought about taking it out on the road? Your own
exactly
live
was
shows,
my
maybe?
next question.
I would love to, but then you start getting into the conversations of actually how that actually works from a practical sense. You know, in order, I would love to have like a massive bus where I travel across the UK or the US and I can tell my story, but also give financial tips and teach people about the stock market and all this
Brilliant.
kind of stuff. I would love to be able to do that, but how does that actually work
I'm not
out
keen
from a
on the bus
commercial point
idea,
of view?
never have been, but I am keen on the theatre idea.
Okay.
Where can people find out more about you? Where's your cyber home?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, YouTube. I've got my podcast. So everything is Conversation of Money. Or if you just type in my name on Google, you'll find all of my outlets associated there. But it's Conversation of Money on YouTube, Conversation of Money on Instagram, and Conversation of Money, the Conversation of Money podcast, which is Spotify and all of the good podcast outlets.
If you want to pursue the idea of taking this on the road, I'm speaking for Neil, but I know what he's thinking. We'd be delighted to get behind that.
I will bear that in mind. Thank you. I mean, I don't know how that would
That's a
work.
very polite way of saying
maybe
sod off. I love that.
no,
Sod
because
off, Russ. I'm
on
not
the
interested.
theatre,
I'm
I don't know
paddling
whether
my own
you
canoe. We don't need you.
have
Screw
you.
yourself.
I don't know whether you guys saw Stephen Bartlett's. He did a theatre show where he basically told his life story through music. I would love to do something like that. I don't have any expertise in theatre or anything like that, so that is a conversation I would 100%.
I actually do know someone that might like to speak to you, but I'm seeing them later, so I might slip your name into the conversation.
Maybe
Right.
not. It depends.
No, I will. I will slip your name into the conversation. I was just being a bit
so
mysterious
sure
for
he's
radio
42,
purposes.
good looking, and looks in his 20s. I still don't like him. I don't care what's happened to him.
It's all about the cocoa butter, I've learned.
It's all about
What about the
Palmer's
cocoa butter?
Palmer's cocoa butter. Palmer's cocoa
You
butter.
really
is
are
bloody
a
marvelous. And
testament to,
E45, by the way, gang. E45, marvelous.
So
I'm
if someone's
102
watching
and I only
this,
look 90.
if someone's watching this and or watching the replay and they're in a desperate situation at the moment, it's so good to see people like you saying, no, it's possible. How would someone, I'm not even quite sure what I'm trying to ask here, how would someone hold that belief that the future is going to be better, even if there's no physical, if you like, manifested proof of it yet? How do you keep that positive mindset in the midst of all the shit that's going on?
I think for me, I mean, look, if I look, so someone said to me when I was younger, you can never connect the dots moving forward, you can connect them moving backwards. And that statement is 100% true. I didn't know what he meant at the time, but I understand what it means right now. And I think if I look back over everything that's happened to me and everything that I've been able to achieve through my career, it has been because I believe that it couldn't get any worse, that the next step takes me to a better place. And in doing so, I think it's really, really important for people to be able to visualize where they actually want to be. When I first started this job in financial services, after miraculously being offered a job after going through all the fit and proper tests, I don't know what Jenny did, but she did something. I said to myself, because I was watching Apprentice at the time, and you had the flyover of Canary Wharf, and I just thought, if you could work there one day, that would be absolutely amazing. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I believed I had the potential to get there. I'm a firm believer that if you can visualize something so tangibly that you can touch it, that you can feel it, and whether that's you do that via having a dream board of the things that you're aspiring to, the fact that you can visualize it and you've got it in your periphery, I believe is so powerful. So powerful.
It is, Peter, but
it
I
wills
woke up,
you in the
Peter,
direction.
I woke up and Eva Green was not walking around my apartment.
That's because she was in mine, mate.
Oh God, no! I'm not going there.
So
now.
kind of you to visualize for me as well, Russ.
I'm not going there now. Oh, I'm not going there.
I've read loads of stuff about books like Creative Visualization, Shakti Gawain, and there's whole books written on this stuff. And the interesting thing is, I've come up against this idea in many disciplines, whether it's kind of your law of attraction, universe manifesting, or psychology, saying you get more of what you focus on. It's come up in many fields. And there does seem to be something in there. In other words, always think and feel what you want rather than trying to fight against what you don't want. Don't waste energy fighting against the bad. Focus on the good instead and let the bad just be what it is.
100%. But at the same time, you have to be making conscious efforts in the direction that you want to travel. A lot of people will think, I want this, but never take the steps that are required. If you're if you're in charge of, number one, visualizing, and number two, taking action to move towards those things. As long as you're able to do that, you should get somewhere towards where you want it to be. It might not be the exact place, but you'll get somewhere towards it.
Because with that attitude, it is true to say there's no failure, only feedback. So it's not about
exactly.
You've got to be in it to win it, haven't you? You've got to be in it to win it.
No failure, only feedback. And I think another great step, I think it might have even been Martin Luther King that said this, and if I'm misquoting, I'm sorry, but he said, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step.
100%. 100%. I mean, another prime example, and like I said, I have so many instances of, I thought about something, I wanted something to happen, I take the necessary action, and it does happen. It might take a little bit longer, but a prime example of this is, my YouTube and the podcast started in 2020 because I had a strong urge at the end of 2019 to do something online. And YouTube was something that I considered for years, but I was just too scared to do it. I started it. And when I started in 2020, in the back of my mind, I was like, it would be amazing if some stage I could be on a TV show. I have a regular slot where I talk about this kind of stuff and I'm able to share this message with people. That all happened this year. I've done a show for Channel 4 this year. I've been on Lorraine this year. I've had multiple newspaper coverage and clippings and things that I contribute from a newspaper point of view. I'm now doing Steph Pack Lunch on a Tuesday on Channel 4 every Tuesday between now and the end of this year. Next year, we'll see what happens. But all of those things were things in the back of my mind, but I focused on the good work that I felt would deliver value to people, and people would find valuable to be able to offer me those kind of opportunities. And getting into smarter rooms is obviously really important, your network, and being pragmatic with the steps that you're taking. But you have to be able to visualize this. And more importantly, you have to be able to take the steps in making those things happen, even if it feels like you're 200 miles away from it. But it's what they say, a journey of a mile starts with one single step. If you're taking those steps, you're getting closer and closer and closer.
You're really inspiring guy, Peter. Congratulations.
Ho Chi Minh said. People say it was Mao Zedong, it was Ho Chi Minh. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Peter, I don't know what to say. You should be St. Peter.
Thank you.
You're a phenomenal fella.
Keep in touch.
I put it all down to the Palmer's cocoa butter and not to your grit, resolution, extraordinary. You're an extraordinary man. Extraordinary man.
Yeah,
thank you.
Congratulations. Well, I think some nice messages in too, saying it's very uplifting for a Monday, and it's just the kind of Monday morning message we need. Monday's normally a day, isn't it? But not on this show. Thank you, Peter.
Never on that.
Thank you.
Bless
Cheers,
you.
guys.
You've been phenomenal. Really phenomenal, man. I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.
Take care.
What a guy.
Wow.
Jesus, what a guy. What a guy.
Is that culture still active in Nigeria, do you think? I don't even know.
Christ knows. I don't know. Anyway, they keep writing to me saying that I've inherited about 34 million quid and all I got to do
they
is
did
send
that to
them
me. I gave them
$5,000.
your bank details. I thought you might like the money.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Okay.
I'll give you a cut. Well, I'll buy you lunch.
Thank you very much indeed.
You can bring Ken. I'll buy you both lunch. It's 34 million quid. I'm not going to miss lunch.
Ken, the producer's away. He's in Cornwall.
Any branch of Subway you like, Neil. Any branch of. No,
Thanks,
I'm waiting for a special guest. I don't know if she's there. Is she there?
She's in the stream with audio only.
Yeah, Vanya, if you can hear us, we need to see you. So somewhere on your screen, you'll have to put the settings.
I think, Vanya, it could be allowing.
Wait for it. I'm getting the vibe here. It's coming through from the other side. Doris.
Yeah, I'm not able to change the camera, I don't think.
Yes, you are.
Is there a button saying allow permissions?
Allow.
No, there's recording, but it's just recording the other side, it seems.
No, we don't want recording anything. We want. Look at this. This is like, what is it? This is hopeless. This is. We need her to press a button because we
give it another go, Vanya.
Come on, Vanya, you can do it.
Maybe, and click the allow tab if you can. Oh, this is promising.
No, let me leave and come back then.
Okay. Don't be long.
Don't be long. Don't be long. What was it? That was George Harrison. That's one of my favorite songs. There's a fog upon LA. Do you remember that? There's a fog upon LA, and my friends have lost their way. You remember our guest? We had Mark Collin. You remember?
Yes.
Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. I'll tell you about it a little bit.
Oh,
later.
is this what I think it's about? I can't say this on air, can I?
Don't know. Probably not. But I said
No,
I said,
it would be client confidentiality, so
I
I
said
won't
I
say
was
it on air.
so
But if you're
impressed
saying
with-
what I think you're saying,
I said I was so impressed with him. Unbelievable. What a guy.
yes.
What a guy. Now, do you know, I'm still reeling. I'm reeling. If I was our previous guest and my parents had done that to me, I would hate them with every fiber of my
Is it?
being.
I mean, is it
Hate
literally?
them.
My history isn't terribly good, so if I'm saying something foolish here, please correct me. But if it's a complete culture of poverty, maybe in those levels of despair, that would be quite a normal, or not natural, but normal thing to do. To basically, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I think people in despair or in
Hey, I've got
in
good
levels
news
of
for you.
poverty or difficult situations will
You've
do
pulled. You've pulled.
crazy
Seriously,
things.
you've pulled. I'll buy you lunch anytime, Neil, says Francois Pascal.
Oh yeah.
You're there, boy. You're there. Knowing Francois, I'd book off the rest of the afternoon as well.
I enjoyed that
Just
show.
saying,
we did
just
with
saying,
Francois.
just saying, Francois. She's French. She's French. She can't help it. Right. Let's try again. Vanya, there you are.
Hey, there you go.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
to
Vanya.
you.
Welcome to the show.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Perfect picture. Perfect sound. We're rocking and a rolling. Vanya, tell us all about
Pediatric
yourself.
nurse.
Pediatric nurse.
Yes.
I thought your pediatrics needed looking after, Neil.
So yes, I'm a pediatric nurse. What do you want to know?
Well, next week's lottery numbers would be fantastic. If you look, well,
I
it's a bit of
wish.
a wide question. It's a wide question. Can I get a discount
where
on
do
an
you
Aston
work,
Martin
Vanya, first
so I
of
can
all?
pick it up for $2,000? I mean, so many questions, so little
If
time.
you find out the lottery numbers, let me know as well, please. We can
Well,
share.
We cut
Well,
you in.
it's a
We
little
cut you
bit
in.
pushy, Vanya. I've only known you 30 seconds, although you seem a very attractive and charming woman.
Where do
but-
you work, Vanya, first of all?
So I work at the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital, which is in North London.
Yeah.
So it's a
Whereabouts?
hospital.
Where is
It's in Stanmore region.
Stanmore, Leslie Demeser land. I was there on Saturday. Okay, but you're here for a specific reason, apart from charming the audience, obviously.
Yes. So
Thank you.
That is,
lay it on us, Vanya.
why are you here? I mean, you're here for a specific reason.
Yes, so obviously I've been part of We Are the NHS recruitment campaign this year that was just launched today. So it's going out to the TV, cinemas out today. So I was part of this NHS recruitment career because I looked after the patient that's shown in the video. His name's Ashton. He was 12 at the time when he was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a form of bone cancer. And obviously 2 years down the line now, he's had his amputation and
Oh,
everything.
Jesus.
He's in remission, which is good. It's all good news. Obviously, you don't always have good outcomes. So
No.
here's one of the good outcome. And it's been brilliant to see.
God damn. I guess your idea and my idea of a good outcome, you're looking at it from a professional viewpoint, and I'm saying, why do people believe in God? But there we are. We have a different. Jesus Christ! What a morning! What a morning!
No,
we're having
sorry.
here. No. It's why you people are angels. I know it's a hackneyed phrase, but what you
So
do
I'm
is
going to go
incredible.
straight in with the mental health.
Off you
question.
go. Come on, Neil.
When you're dealing with stuff which has such high stakes, such high outcomes, and so uncertain outcomes, how do you keep your mental balance?
Well, you know
how
what?
are you involved enough to care, but not so involved you become a dithering wreck, if you like? That balance, that sweet spot. How do you do that?
It's hard, and it's a very good question because I suffer with anxiety as it is. So being the role of nursing is challenging in itself. And when you're going through situations like this, you can't help, but it will get you down at some point. You can't help it. But it's having the support system around you, whether it's colleagues, family, partner. Obviously, I'm lucky enough that I can come home to my partner, just vent. All sometimes that I need is just to let it out of the system, because if you keep it in, see, it's just going to be worse.
Oh, I do venting on a
That's the
regular
way I
basis.
find to cope. And walking the dog.
And people have to open the windows when you do, Neil. Now, what I was going to say is this. Tell us about this campaign. Because we need
I can
more
only
people.
apologise, Vanya. Please tell us about this campaign.
Shut up.
It's okay.
Shut up. What, no,
It's okay.
presumably we need more people in the NHS, right, Vanya? Is that the deal?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
So
well,
obviously we're trying to recruit more people to the NHS. Hopefully, so with the campaign, we're trying to show. Can you hear me? Okay.
beautiful.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Everything's good. Carry on.
Oh, the
Great.
image just froze.
Doesn't matter. It's a charming image. We can hear you.
It's frozen, but it's a lovely picture.
Let it go. Let it
Very
go.
lovely.
It's frozen. Come on. Don't worry about it. Just talk
So
to us.
basically,
Captions, please.
we are trying to show the different roles that are within NHS, but it's hard because with the advert in itself, it only shows a few roles that there are in NHS because there's over 50 types of roles in NHS. So obviously we're trying to get people to go to the nursing careers website and an NHS website to look at the different roles. And obviously if nursing, they think it's for them, have a look at the website, try and join, because honestly, it's just the most rewarding career that you can have in your life. It really is.
This is interesting that you say that, because I know myself well enough to know that is not a job I could ever do.
Nor me.
And to be fair, there's some people that couldn't do what I do, and that's fine. It's good that we're all different, but I have such a respect for people that can do that kind of job. I literally do not know how you do it. I literally do not know how you do it.
I'm the same. I can only echo.
It's not for everyone. It's not a job for everyone, but I think if you know and you have that spark and that thing in you that makes you want to care for other people and stuff, then it is a job for you. I didn't realize how much it was a job for me.
Are you a naturally empathetic, caring person? I guess you must be. Are you a very...
You know what? This is funny because my family will say the opposite. But when I'm at work, I'm the opposite.
Is that right?
Yes. My family will say you're very cold-hearted. I don't give hugs, kisses. But if it comes to work and it's a patient, I'll hug them immediately if it must be.
There you go.
This is
Isn't that curious?
If we started.
So which is the real you? Which is the real you?
I think they're both real me, but I think in terms of the role that I'm doing in the job, I'm super confident giving a child a hug and things like that. But if it's my own family, I don't know. It's just weird for me.
But but Neil, which is ever the real us? I'm completely different off. I'm actually very quiet in real life.
Yeah.
I'm actually very quiet.
I'm not.
And well, you're just a loudmouth from New Malden, but nothing's changed in all the many years I've known you.
Pretty much.
But in real life, people think, oh, he's actually he's very quiet.
No, I do have my quiet, reflective side. So, excuse me. There's a
I hope I live long enough to see it.
50 jobs, which you can choose from. Do you want to give us a few examples? I mean, I don't expect the whole list of 50, but
of course.
Few examples on the list. And
so obviously, I specialize in pediatric, which is obviously working with children, but you can go into adult mental health nursing. So in my ward, we see until 17 years old. So from 18 they go to adult. Yeah.
Oh right, okay, yeah. So what more?
So you've got neonatal, which is newborn babies and stuff. You can go into adult mental health. You can even work in prisons, GPs. There's so many.
Wow.
And how many? Let's get down to the nitty gritty here, Vanya. If you know the answers, how many people are we short in the NHS?
I actually don't know the answer to that. To be fair, I try to keep myself away from the news because the job in itself, it's it can be hard mentally as it is. And when you're reading all the news or everything, I try to keep myself out of it.
Wise words. It goes back to our last guest, focusing on what you want rather than what you don't want.
Exactly.
And to take the burden of the whole of the NHS on your shoulders, I would say it'd be about the fastest route to burnout ever. And then burnout, good to anyone.
Let's have a quick look at this from Françoise Pascal. Mind your language. Oh, most beautiful.
I think the
most beautiful woman ever to grace a TV screen. I think Françoise, you're way too young. I
think you mean the NHS. I don't think you mean British Home Stores, but
she does mean British. No. Françoise, being French, made a mistake, and she went into a branch of British Home Stores. How the hell they managed to solve her problems, I don't know.
I think the NHS they gave me through my bowel cancer. Which the surgeon got the cancer in time. I was given such great care by the nurses for 10 days. I'm very sympathetic towards the nurses. They work very hard, and sometimes are given a hard time by the patients, like me, not really. Good on you, Vanya.
Oh, bless Francois. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. See? Just multilingual. It's incredible. O-level French to the fore. So Vanya, why did they pick? Obviously, this is a big campaign, which is why the PR company came after me and said, "Oh, you know," and I said, "Yeah, of course, it's the NHS who have been fantastic to me. I mean, when they get it right, they get it right. So when it's the big stuff, they get it right. And yeah, I know A&E is a nightmare, but there we are. We move on. And they're doing their best. But I have to say that everyone I've ever met in the NHS, forget the waiting times, right, have been fantastic.
All the individuals, yes,
fantastic.
every single one, apart from one who was a nurse that looked like the nurse in Misery, the film, and treated me as such.
Yeah,
but
just
apart
died.
from that,
Died the
100%.
other week. Yeah, she died the other week. And Nurse Ratchet.
Annie Wilkes. No, but I think you're going to go. So, is it just you fronting this campaign, Vanya? Or is there a big team of you? Or
no, of course, I was actually called to come into this campaign because obviously they were filming the patient, Ashton, and apparently Mum had said so many good things and how I helped through their journey or in recovery when he had his amputation. So they recruited me to come onto the campaign and do the video. I couldn't say no because that meant I could see my patient again after a year of being discharged. You know, when they get discharged, you don't see them again. So now I can see him as a typical teenager living his life, it's really rewarding to see.
But it must be lovely to have a follow-up. I mean, because once, you say, they're discharged and gone, but when you get that close to someone, I'd probably want to keep in touch.
But is that a good thing, Neil, or is that a bad thing? Because if you get an emotional attachment and it doesn't have a happy outcome, that's going to really affect
It depends. It's that sweet spot I was talking about, close enough to care. But not so close, you become a dithering wreck, and it's that sweet spot which I asked about.
I can say I can think of one case where I got myself emotionally touched and then found out the patient unfortunately had not survived. Oh. Regardless, I wouldn't change what I've done because I know at the time I made him happy. I made his day better to the point that he wanted to keep in touch with me, and we kept in touch. Unfortunately, I found out later until literally the day he passed away because he wanted to keep on talking to me because I must have, helped something in his day. He wasn't telling me what was going on.
What a difference you made at the end of someone's life. I mean, that's such a beautiful, that's almost a spiritual thing to me. It's
fabulous.
It's a really beautiful, beautiful thing.
So
why should people become a nurse? What?
Oh my God, because I think I've mentioned how rewarding this career is, and I can't say it enough.
We're getting that loud and clear. Why else?
Yeah. Obviously, NHS, I can say I've never been very much of a confident person to be doing this as it is today. Oh my God, you will not get me on this show a few years back. But
hey, we're not that scary, are we?
Well,
no, it's just
Neil, there is something about you that's quite off-putting, Neil. I'll be honest with you. I mean, many a guest have said that.
No need for that.
Many a guest.
No, but obviously, you get so many skills out of it. You learn how to become you learn how to become resilient. You learn how to become strong because NHS is constantly giving you that training of how to improve as an individual and as a nurse. So it's just amazing. But I think the main thing is rewarding. Is if you're looking into that career and you've got that spark of wanting to help people, definitely go for it. You won't regret it. Every day you'll come home just thinking of how you helped someone.
You've done something. You've done something really, really positive. Vanya, just before you go, and bless you for coming on the show. Thank you so much. But I grabbed you as soon as I saw that you were going to be available. It's something that's so important. It's something that we certainly endorse. How do people get on the web? What's the best website to start their journey if they're thinking, right, I want my son, daughter, grandchild. Yeah, this is for them. What do you think? Where should they go?
So you can go to healthcareers.nhs.uk. That's where you find all the jobs out. Healthcareers.nhs.uk.
Okay. All right.
So you've got all the roles there, jobs. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I always end up feeling very humbled after shows.
Yeah, I always feel useless. I get somebody.
You shouldn't.
No, but Vanya, we get somebody like you on, and our previous guest, and I think, what the bloody hell have I done with my life? These people are
but without us, their message wouldn't be out there.
They're just amazing. They're just
but then again, you're spreading the awareness and you're spreading the word, and if it wasn't for that, people will never get there. So you're doing your part.
Bath and New Malden do have a purpose.
Of course they do. Of course they do. Twin with Korea. Vanya, thank you so. I've got to ask, I'm so sorry, because it's an exotic name, right? We've had exotic names today. Where in the world does that originate from?
I'm Portuguese by nature, yes.
Oh. Anywhere near Lisbon?
No, not at all. Everyone just knows Lisbon or Porto.
That's all I know.
They're doing
I know Lisbon. That's it.
They're doing great work on drugs in Portugal because they're not treating it as a criminal offence. They're treating it as a health issue, so people can come forward without being criminalised, and they have had incredible results.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. I've read about that as well.
You know the best thing about Portugal? There's the restaurants there, and they do the.
I thought you were going to say the weather.
But the weather's beautiful, and the people are very, very charming, and the scenery is gorgeous, and the buildings and the architecture. But it's the only place where you don't feel like an idiot having Mateus Rosé. It kind of works.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
There we are. I like to bring everything down to my level.
You've been going to, Russ.
It's a shut up.
You need to up your game, mate.
Vanya, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Good luck with the campaign.
Thank you so much.
It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you for what you do. Take care.
Bye. Coming in from Houston, look at this. My godson is a pediatric. She doesn't talk like that. She's English, but I just prefer it. It just gives me a chance to do a silly voice.
Yeah, you need the drawl.
My godson is a pediatric nurse after spending a lot of his childhood in, Great Ormond Street Hospital. Gosh, what a wonderful place. He wanted to give something back. Oh, bless him. Julie, that's wonderful. That is wonderful stuff. Do you know what, though, Longy? You do think, how can I, if you were in these positions of what both of our guests have done, which is why I grabbed them, because I thought, there's a lot here. There's a lot of meat on the bone here. I couldn't do what the first guest, I couldn't do what Peter did. Jesus, I'd be dead by now. I mean, I would have been dead a long time ago.
But they leave a trail of breadcrumbs for people to follow. And what I love about this, it's all pre-recorded. Anyone could watch any of these shows at any time. And I'm talking to, not you, Russ, I'm talking to you watching it right now, you, dear viewer. And if you're watching this and it's helped you at least see that other people who have gone before you have been successful, or there's a trail of breadcrumbs to follow, or that there's hope where there wasn't before, and it gives you the signposting you need, then we are just delighted. And that makes me even more convinced that I want to be here twice a week doing this.
Absolutely, and so you shall be. But it is interesting. You use the word humble. It does make you feel humble. You know, it's that line from Casablanca. You know, I know our problem doesn't amount to a hill of beans, and it doesn't amount to a hill of beans. And you know, we go through life and we worry about this and we worry about that, and then you see the big stuff, and you think, what the hell? You know, I'll work something out somehow. Won't be exactly a bit of a detour, but I'll get there eventually. I do believe, by the way, I know Neil does, I do, this whole, I think Neil uses the word manifesting. I use the word kind of picturing it. It's really important. Thank you. I can't think of the bloody word.
It is. I tell you what, I know a guest who, this is absolutely fascinating, because what do we worry about most of all? A lot of us, and the answer is money. And,
money, number one.
She's been on before briefly, and I would love to get her back on again if we could. And
Who's
she is doing Jo Happiness Howarth at the Happiness Club. She is doing a seminar.
That's her middle name.
On money mindset. So it's, in a sense, if you can visualize your steps to one thing, you can presumably visualize your steps to anything.
Sadly, the only way that I'm actually going to get any money, I have to visualize a mask over my face and a sawn-off shotgun.
It's not the best way to do it, I've learned.
It's probably not the best, but it's the
only
way
quick and
I can think
effective,
of
but it has
at the moment.
consequences.
And then I get 3 minutes. You know, somebody who I've never met but was aware of this is life, right? Went on trial recently. Not a friend of mine, somebody in the public eye went on trial, and to my shock, got sent down for 5.5 years. And I got a phone call Saturday morning from a mutual, someone who is a friend of mine, who knows this other fellow, who I've never met, by the way.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And he says he's absolutely fine. He's getting tons of fan mail and he's put on weight. I said, what do you mean he's put on weight? He said, the food inside is fantastic. I said, you are joking. He said, no, he's getting 3, it's more than we get, 3 fabulous meals a day. He's put on weight. There you go. Life, huh? Elizabeth Green says money isn't everything. Well, Elizabeth, when you got it,
No, it
I'm
is
not saying
not.
you, but when you've got it, it's so easy to be kind of blasé about it. When you're worrying yourself stupid over it, yeah, it's yeah. Without health, money is useless. Without good health is everything. Money comes second because you got to live. Otherwise, it's a constant stressor.
Mm.
That's it. I don't have it. I know, no, Elizabeth, it wasn't about you. It's just a general statement.
Before we go, Russ, can I have a quick chat with you off air afterwards?
Of course, we should do this immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, what a blooming show. If I say
What a
so
show.
myself. It was
See you
just like,
Wednesday.
we're just conduits, but we'll see you Wednesday. Till then, try and stay out of trouble. Bye, everybody. Thanks.